So when we were talking earlier, I really like the fact that you were talking about caring for special needs. So when it comes to financial planning for a child or an adult who has special needs, what would be two things that you would definitely not want to do?
I think what you shouldn't do, and number one is leaving assets that go directly to that person or that child or that grandchild who has special needs, right? So, because that could create an unnecessary loss of potential benefits that this special needs child, adult or not adult, could qualify for, right? Whether it's through the Social Security Administration and whatnot. You just want to make sure that you leave all of the options open for them to receive as much as many benefits from as many sources that are available to them. And sometimes if they receive assets directly in their name, that disqualifies them because they're seen as having money or assets.
Hmm. What would be, and that could be really a loss of thousands of dollars a year in whether it would be medical assistance, housing assistance. What would be another big mistake that would end up costing when you think you're giving the money to the special needs child or adult, but you're actually end up costing them money, whether it's in taxes or anything like that? What would be a second mistake that you really wouldn't want to do?
A second one I keep thinking about is just like that whole, if you're someone who's you're a parent of a special needs child or you're a grandparent of one, you understand that it takes a lot of care, a lot of concern, a lot of engagement to take care of your child, whether they're still a child or an adult. I think there's a lot of love there, right? And no one's ever going to love that child and do for that child the way that you're going to do. And so I think one of the bigger things I see people do that they shouldn't do is shifting that responsibility. When the day will come when you are no longer here, and they still are, and they might have siblings. I mean, I have siblings and things like that, and then all of a sudden those siblings will feel obligated out of love, but if I, that's not fair to them to shift the responsibility for taking care of and seeing after their particular special needs uh, sibling. Like it's just like that's not it's not that it's not fair. It's just that's not their responsibility. And I think that I've seen that happen far too many times, unintentionally, because things happen and it's just never thought of that way because parents seem to they feel like I'll always be here, and the reality is you won't.
And what would be, as far as one of the things or a way that you could bring up that conversation, if you were talking to a couple that, let's say, it's a grandparents, and how would you bring up that conversation with either the parents of the special needs child or if they were your nephew or niece? How would you bring that conversation up
Well,
about being able
I
to take
just
care of them?
kind of talking about not shifting responsibility there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that would kind of be, I kind of indirectly get into that conversation. The way I would do it is just kind of acknowledge, like, okay, like we've got someone whose special needs. We're taking care of them. They live with you. You're providing a lot of support. You're there for them. My question is this: have you ever given any thought? This is how I bring it up. Have you given any thought to what would happen if you are incapable, physically and otherwise, of taking care of them or helping them? Who would take over, and how would that be? How would the cost be covered for that? Number one, what happens if you're not here? I know it's kind of grim, and but it's better to think about it that way so that we can make sure that no matter what happens, uh, that your son or daughter, or grandson or granddaughter, can be taken care of at the level that you would do if you weren't here, if you were here, right? So that's how I bring it up.
That's fantastic. I think that gives people a lot of peace of mind too, just to think if they can have a plan early on, it's not something that has to be taken care of in an emergency type of situation because nobody knows what is going to happen tomorrow. What peace of mind to have to know that your child or your grandchild will be taken care of the rest of their life, not only just the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah, that's I mean, Chrissy, you hit the nail on the head. I think that's like the biggest thing for me is whenever people hear the word plan, maybe their eyes roll in the back of their head, maybe they're like, "Hey, what does that mean?" And I think what it really means is what does a plan do? Like what so we have to come up with a word to describe the steps and seeing things unfold even if you're not here. We call that planning. Even if you are here, we call that planning. And so the idea is like,
Mhm.
well, what do you want to see happen even if you're not here? What do you want to see happen when you are here? And try to give yourself as much control over the variables in your life that you do have control of, because there's so much that you don't have control of. So I think it's so important to kind of start thinking about like not all every what if, but some contingencies like, hey, what if I wasn't here? What if I don't want to do that? What if that doesn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out? What are we going to do next? It's kind of like a like a roadmap, right? Like what I love about like so many people right nowadays, we use like GPSs. But I'm
Mhm.
still I'm still I'm still a stickler for like the old school Rand McNally like maps,
Right.
right? You know what I mean. So I when you open up depending on what region you're traveling in, what I love about it is when you open it up, you can see the entire region and all the. It looks like a tributaries in a river, man, of all the different roads and ways that you can get to the destination, right? So you can see
Mhm.
at a glance all of your different options, and I think that when you kind of translate that to planning, money, I mean, man, if you just had a roadmap that you could see all the different options and you say, okay, well, the path that we're going to go down today, given where we want to end up and blah blah blah, it's going to be this one. But if something were to happen, if there were quote unquote life happening, also known as construction on the road of life, here is the
Mhm.
bypass. Here's how you go around. I think that's what's so important about really just thinking about where things go next. That's what planning is. Planning is just a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking about whatever it is that you are endeavoring to plan.
I love that. Thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. I look forward to more conversations just like this.
My pleasure.